Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another product spotlight. I have an amazing guest today. I have Laura Eastwood from KWS Seeds Canada. Laura, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Tracy, for having me today.
I am so excited to chat with you. You guys, we're going to be talking about hybrid rye in livestock feed systems today. And Laura is going to join us. We have a good conversation plan. Before we dive in, Laura, do you want to tell me a little bit about who you are and your role with KWS Seeds?
So like you said, my name is Laura Eastwood, and I'm the Animal Nutrition Manager with KWS Seeds Canada. So my background is actually on the livestock side of things, and not so much on the crop side like the rest of my team. I have a PhD in animal nutrition from the University of Saskatchewan. I spent a good portion of my career working in either research or as an extension specialist, mostly in the Canadian swine industry. But my background is nutrition, and this role has brought me back to that nutrition side of things. And then, so our biggest objectives with my role with KWS Canada is to promote hybrid rye as an alternative feed ingredient for livestock producers, and demonstrate what the benefits of that are on farm, and to nutritionists across the country.
Fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, so on that note, why don't we dive right in?
Yep.
As you mentioned, hybrid rye is gaining a lot of attention in livestock feed systems. Can you explain why it's becoming such an attractive option for producers?
Yeah, so hybrid rye is a relatively new crop to North America, but it's actually not a new crop around the world. In Europe, it's grown all the time, and about two-thirds of the crop production in Europe goes to livestock feed. So it's not a new concept to feed hybrid rye to livestock, especially pigs. But it's just a new crop in North America. So it's kind of a new concept here. And we get to take all of the lessons learned from Europe over the last years, and bring that here. And so we know how to feed hybrid rye to pigs and cattle and poultry. And now we're just trying to adapt that to the North American market and the North American systems.
Okay. So, why don't we go right to the nutritional value? Can you talk about hybrid rye and the nutritional value compared to traditional feeds like wheat and barley? I think that's a great question and probably one of the first things producers would think about, right?
Yeah, yep. So hybrid rye, I always find it a really unique ingredient. What I say for most ingredients as a livestock nutritionist is we can pretty much feed whatever we want to feed as long as we formulate a ration properly. So a hybrid rye as a grain for pigs and poultry, it really brings a good nutritional profile. It's high in energy, it's highly digestible. The phosphorus content is digestible in it. It's got a good amino acid profile. So it's a really good overall cereal crop that we can feed to pigs and poultry. But it brings some added benefits along with it that a lot of other sort of common ingredients don't have. So one of those is it's got a really good soluble fiber content. And we hear about this on the human health side of things as well. Eat the good fiber.
Yeah.
So we have that good fiber in rye. And that's one of the things that can promote health and well-being in pigs and poultry when we're feeding it. It can actually help boost the nutritional digestibility of other ingredients because it promotes good intestinal health. But it also will help reduce aggression and improve satiety, so the feeling of fullness in a pig or poultry. So there's other benefits that kind of go along beyond just that basic nutritional profile that we commonly see in a feed ingredient. On the cattle side, we have two ways we can feed it, either as a grain or as a forage. It provides a lot of flexibility to cattle producers. As a grain, again, it's very highly digestible and can be included quite easily into either dairy or beef cattle ration, depending on the needs. And then as a forage, same thing. So we can cut it early, and it's a really nutrient dense, energy packed diet that is great for dairy cattle. or we can cut it later on when it's a higher fiber content and it's great for beef cattle. So it's a really flexible ingredient as well, which is really nice. I even have a pig producer that I know that feeds it as a forage to his pigs. So yeah, we see all sorts of flexibility with this crop, and it brings different nutritional benefits beyond just the standard protein, energy, and amino acid contents.
Interesting. Okay, that's nutritional value. Why don't we
Yep.
talk about economics? So, how does using hybrid rye improve the economics of a producer's feeding operation? That's an important one, right?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's probably number one in most people's minds. We know that feed accounts for about 2/3 of the cost of production when you're feeding livestock. So it's a huge portion of raising livestock, very expensive. And so really the biggest benefit for the cost of production with hybrid rye actually comes from the crop side of things. So it's the highest yielding cereal crop versus wheat, barley. And so if you're 20 to 40% higher than conventional rye in terms of yield, or 30% higher compared to wheat or barley, then you're able to feed more animals per acre,
Right.
and we also require less fertilizer and crop protection inputs for the same acreage versus the other cereal crops. So you're getting higher yields and less input costs on that crop, which at the end of the day means you can feed more animals and your cost of doing that was cheaper. So for an integrated producer who's growing their own crop and then feeding it to their livestock, it's a really good return on investment for the farm.
That is fantastic. You're speaking to a beef farmer here, so I'm loving it.
Yep.
Okay, so that is wonderful. Covered the economics. Why don't we talk about workload and farm management for farmers? I think this will be a big one too. How does hybrid rye really impact the workload and farm management for the same producers?
Yeah, so this is somewhere where a lot of our beef producers have actually really gravitated to hybrid rye for the workload management side of things, but other farmers as well. So hybrid rye is a fall planted crop, which means that especially out in Western Canada, it's a different seeding time, it's a different harvest time. So you're spreading out your workload management on farm, provides a little bit of flexibility there to sort of what you're used to doing. Um, in some geographies, so southern Alberta and in southern Ontario, we have the ability to actually double crop with hybrid rye because it can come off in the spring and then we can still have enough time to get another crop in the field after, which means you're actually getting even higher yields off that field throughout the year. So you're getting more biomass if you're cutting it for forage early. So those are some of the big flexible options when it comes to using it that we're seeing on farm. Several of our varieties are also dual purpose varieties. So they're really, they deliver KWS's high quality product, whether it's cut for forage or grain. So this is somewhere where, for example, a dairy producer might not know whether he's going to need more forage or more grain at the time of planting. So he could plant hybrid rye and make that decision in the spring based on sort of what the farm looks like and what they need at that point in time. So it provides a lot of flexibility to the workload management on farm, and that's definitely a big bonus that we're seeing for producers.
Fantastic. This is such interesting stuff. I had a big conversation with Kenny a few weeks back about
Yep.
KWS Seeds, hybrid rye overall, and now I was excited to dive in for livestock feed systems. This is interesting, especially our audience, obviously farmers. I'm sitting here really
Yep.
forgetting I'm
Yeah.
interviewing and just listening. So this is good. Okay, so we touched on a few different areas, covered a lot of stuff: nutritional value, economics, workload, farm management. How do you see hybrid rye's role evolving going forward in the livestock feed systems for farmers?
Yeah, so I think one of the big things is just as we see more acres planted of hybrid rye, we're going to see more availability of it as a feed ingredient. So, I get a lot of producers but nutritionists specifically, working for different feed companies, they're starting to hear about hybrid rye. They want to learn how they might be able to include it in a ration if a producer is growing it and they need to figure out how to formulate a diet with it. So I can help with all of that information. But I think, for me and one of my perspectives is I've always had an interest in trying to understand how nutrition and health work together. And hybrid rye, because of some of the health benefits that it has, like the improved intestinal health and the improved satiety that helps reduce aggression. We've seen reduced tail biting on pig farms, things like that. At the end of the day, I think that all comes back as not just a welfare benefit for the animals, but also money into a producer's pocket if they're not having to treat an animal because of an injury or something like that. So I think there's a lot of room for growth with hybrid rye as an alternative feed ingredient in Canada. I say it's another tool in the toolbox. We're never going to move to a ration where we feed, all wheat or all corn. There's always a mix of ingredients that go into a ration for a reason. But hybrid rye can fit very well in there and provide some of those added functional benefits that not all ingredients have.
Interesting. I have also worked in a pig barn, and when you said tail biting, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, okay, got that. Beef
Yep.
farmer, so this is really connecting for me. So we covered a lot of ground here. If there's anything you want to add that you thought of afterwards on any of the things we've chatted about, go ahead. If not, my final call to action would be for producers that are in the audience. If they want to learn more about the variety, if they want to talk to you about nutrition, whatever it is, how can they connect with you guys to learn more?
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about KWS and about the animal nutrition side of things, you can visit our website. So kws.com/.ca. You can also follow us on social media. My contact information will be on the website, so feel free to reach out to me directly if you'd like to. I am also at a lot of livestock meetings around the country, so if you happen to see me and my KWS shirt, feel free to stop and say hi. I'd love to meet and chat with you and see if there's a way we can help you get hybrid rye on your farm.
Excellent. And for you guys in the audience, if you're listening, watching, either way, I will put all the links to the website information on the show page. So, Laura, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great being here. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. You guys in the audience, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, you're interested, go to the website, go directly to KWS website, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.